as always, I try to do a mailbag session after I've done the rant. I've actually had a cough and a cold this week, and a load of my colleagues have gone down with very, very serious coughs and colds. In fact, one of my colleagues I know has definitely had the flu this week, which is rather worrying given what's going on in China. So, just to put some context on this, this is January 2019, and China's just had an outbreak of a very, very serious virus that seems to be flooring people. It's a very potent version of the flu is the only way I can describe it, I suppose. But I'm no health expert. So anyway, managing to talk for 17 minutes on the rant this week, I was quite impressed without coughing my guts up. So apologies, I may cough through this because I've just done 17 minutes of talking over there. So this week's mailbags, and there's going to be multiple mailbags because there have been lots of questions. So let's start with a comment from Bruce. In response to SMR, the future is redefined, DX7 cartridges, and the mystery synth. And this is all the way back in 2017. In fact, made in 2017. And Bruce says, about the look of the Korg T1. And Bruce is a big T1 fan. Okay. When you're at the keyboard for an hour during improvisation composition, the T1 is easy on the eyes. It has a beautiful alien look. Underworld look. Cheers, Bruce. And I suppose this was sort of kind of the time when synthesizers were black and they were mysterious and they made noises. And I have to be honest, I also love the look of my T1. For me, it's somebody's thought about the T1 in terms of how they've put it together, because it sort of lends itself to being able to put stuff on it. And that sounds a bit daft, but when you're sitting at a keyboard and you're playing a keyboard, quite often you're going to have your computer or you're going to have a tone module or some sort of controller. And what I quite like is to have that in front of me. So whether that is to have a desk, and I don't have the luxury of having a desk at the moment where the keyboard slides out, or whether you want the luxury of having it in front of you. I quite like the fact that the T1, and I use the T1 quite a lot as a master controller, but the T1 has space either side of the control set. So the controls are pretty much in the center of the T1. It's an 88 key board, so you've got space on those two wings to put the computer and put other stuff on there. And quite often, I may have a couple of boutiques, or I may have something else, or the MX1, or various bits and bobs sort of around the T1 at the time, and it's very easy to control everything from that T1 area. Now, if I go and look at newer boards, especially from Korg, so I go and look at the OASYS and I go and look at the Kronos, pretty much they got buttons right to the end. All right, so it's 88 keys, but there's buttons of controller banks, sliders, pots, faders, buttons, right? And there's nowhere on those boards to actually put something. And I've seen people with solutions with like bridging components where they effectively have things fabricated, either people have built them in wood, or I've seen things 3D printed that sit on the edge, allow you to put your computer up there. So you can still get to the buttons, but you can get to your computer's sort of held there, because there's no space on the wings of those two instruments. And if you go and look at a lot of the other, if you go and look at the new Phantoms that have come out from Roland, exactly the same. So many buttons, knobs, and faders. There's actually nowhere to put something on the machine. And this sounds really daft, but there's nowhere to put music either. So quite often, we don't all hold it up here. We have to read some sheet music sometimes, and there's nowhere to. You have to have an external stand behind it, or to one side of it, or something. Otherwise, you can't put sheet music. So, yes, I agree. I do like the Alien Underworld look as well, but it was a well thought out keyboard, and I thoroughly love my T1. So the next one comes from the Seabone 1979. And this was in the response to the arrival of the Behringer RD-8 that I did. It's all right. The date. This the date that's throwing me. Sorry, I'm looking at the date and thinking that's the American way round. It's not. It actually is right. On the 12th of January this year, 12th of January 2020. The date just threw me. The brain wasn't interpreting the date properly. Anyway, I apologise for that. And he says, it's been a while since I've been on the channel, but that's what's happened when you buy a new house and have to work on it. I know all about that. Nice intro addition, but I like the laid back style of the vids. I hope to get an RD8 later in the year. Looking forward to your update on it. So, when I wrote the response to this, I was just about to sort of move somewhere. I am moving from here. So these are the last videos you will see from the front room here. I am moving, and there will be updates when that happens. I'm not moving to where I thought I was going to move for various reasons. I'm going somewhere else. So just to confuse me and everybody else around me. But it is something I'm just about to experience. But hopefully, I'll be able to continue the video productions and the timescales and keep this stuff going. Because I've worked really hard to now get a video production timescale going, where I can actually respond to you and not have lots of long breaks like I have had in the past. I don't want that to happen again. I've sort of made a concerted effort not to do that. I have to be honest and say I'm impressed with the RD8. I'm impressed with the weight of the RD8, and I'm impressed with how the RD8 works. There's going to be a link to the playlist concerning here, so as stuff will drop in to the playlist on the RD8, you'll be able to sort of see where I've mentioned it, commented about it, or actually have demos showing how the RD8 works. They will all appear in that playlist that will appear at the top of the screen somewhere. But hopefully what I'm saying about the RD8 will help you make your mind up. Lots of people have said to me about the RD8 that they've got the TR8, they got the TR08, and I have both of those as well. But I have to be honest and say I found the RD8 a welcome addition. I think Behringer, I keep getting the name wrong, have well thought it through. And they haven't just come to the market with a direct clone of what Roland had. They've come to the market with something that has added functionality, but gives you exactly what the original 808 did. So, we'll see what happens. Watch this space. And the next one in this section comes via email, actually, from Machina A11801. And he says, hello, I have a problem with the Korg OASYS version 1.02. I cannot get the public ID. I brought it supported and there's no restore CDs with it. Could you help me by throwing an ISO image of 1.3.1? And in the past, what I probably would have said to you was go to korguser.net, which was www.korguser.net, all in one word, and you should be able to create user ID, log on to that, register your product, in this case the OASYS, and they would then supply you with the updated discs like they did for me when I bought my OASYS. However, it does appear that they have been depreciating korguser.net, which is a Korg website at the end of the day, but it does appear that Korg have been depreciating it. But what I mean by depreciation, it's a software term, and it basically means taking functionality away from a specific version or a product in favour of something else. And Korg have pretty much started moving everything over to the Korg shop, or the main Korg website. So the Korg user, the stuff that used to come through korguser.net is becoming much, much smaller. Now, I did a lot of digging around on this to try and see if I could work out, could you get the same stuff as I managed to get a couple of years ago from Korg? One of the things that is a little bit confusing and I'm not sure where the IP lies, is a lot of the users have sort of said, well, just give us the CDs, just put ISO images of the CDs up. And it's not quite that simple, because my understanding is that you have to generate a key to get certain stuff, and if you can't generate the key, you can't get it. And they've got quite a good encryption system going on, which started on the OASYS and has carried on onto the Kronos, which basically means that if you've downloaded software, sound packs, whatever it happens to, and you've loaded them onto that particular machine, then it is tied to that machine, because you would have had to enter your license key or your machine key number. You can't transfer those packs to other machines. And it's a big issue that a lot of users, especially traveling users, have stated that they have been unable to lift sound packs from one machine to another. Now, if you're talking about trundling around with USB sticks that have way or combinations and programs that contain the standard stock sounds off a Kronos, for argument's sake, then that's all well and good, because you'll be able to still do that. It's the underlying sound packs, what makes those sound packs up, is tied to the machine, so you can't just lift them off one machine and put them on another machine, because they don't tend to work. So the advice I have to give on this is as follows. The first thing you need to do is go to the Korg.com website and find your regional Korg distributor. Now, there is a distributor in the UK, because I've spoken to them. I spoke to them when I did my OASYS, and they will be able to take the registration of your current machine that you say you've just bought, and they will be able to flip that registration into your name. Once the registration is in your name, you are then able to ask them through Korg support for copies of the CDs or copies of the ISOs of the CDs. Now, in terms of could I provide them, the answer is I think I am able to provide them. The problem is I have nowhere to put them. Okay, so I don't have a facility on the internet that just says pop an ISO up here and you can go and get it. I don't have that facility available to me. I have it at work, but I don't have it personally. They will give you those ISOs. They will put them into a Dropbox area, I suspect, and you'll be able to download them. Now, it is very important that you jump from the base version up to 1.1 first, and then to 1.3, and then to 1.33a. Okay? Don't try to go directly from the base version all the way up, because you will have problems. So make sure you go through 1.1. And when you go through 1.1, once you've got 1.1 on your machine, you'll be able to find the public ID. And in 1.1, the public ID is displayed in the global basic page. There should be a setting there for public ID, and you should be able to find it. And once you've got the public ID, you can then register that with Korg, and then everything else you should be able to download all the packs that they made free for the OASYS as well, because you'll be able to supply the public ID to generate the license key that gives you the software. Without the public ID, you are rather scuppered. So you really do have to go and talk to the Korg local distributor to get the machine swapped into your name and get that base set of ISOs to upgrade. I'm sorry that's not more positive, but there has been on the Korg user forums, there is a lot of debate about whether the ISOs can just be freely distributed or not. And I'm not going to fall foul of that, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to distribute the ISOs myself. Go to the Korg, the local Korg distributor. They will give you them. Okay. And the final one from this section, from the Death Beats, which is aka Gary. And he writes, I really like the look of the RD-6. I was just as surprised as you when I first heard the video announcement on their YouTube channel. I've always been a fan of the TR-606, and I bought one on eBay around 5 years ago. I was just getting into synthwave at the time, and I was looking to start injecting a synthwave influence into my tunes. I figured it would be great to have a TR-606 to sample beats from. Unfortunately, it was way too cranky and noisy, so I ended up using a D16's Group's Neothiathon VST, which is quite simply amazing. I use it on a lot of my tunes, most noticeably Dangerous Days, which I will post below. And if you go to the comment, you'll see the video that Gary has posted. P.S. If the RD-6 is affordable as the Behringer 303, I think I might get both of them. Hopefully I can integrate them into my door-free setup. I've not had a chance to start on that yet, but I'm thinking about the Roland MC707 would be a good machine to have as a main sequencer. I've not looked into depth, but I'm hoping it can operate in a similar way to the W30 in terms of being able to control external instruments. God, the W30 brings back memories. This is in responsible to the SMR I did last week, which is Do I Give a Damn About NAMM? Do I Give a Damn About NAMM? Play on words. And what I have to say is I think Gary makes a very good point. I've never had a 606, and I must admit I thought about one a little while back, but then I bought the TR8, and the TR8 has the 606 sound pack in it, so I sort of went, well, do I need the 606? And the answer is probably no. And I sort of considered it good enough. But I have to admit, after buying the RD-8 and seeing the build quality of the RD-8, I'm sort of kind of thinking, if this is going to sort of drop in the couple of £100 range, couple $100 range, then maybe it's worth tipping the toe again and sort of saying, well, I'll get the RD-6. I'm sort of kind of in the realm at the moment. You can never have enough drum machines, and I'm collecting quite a stable of drum machines. But then I watched a video a little while back about Moby, and Moby's got an entire wall of drum machines. So, drum machines are drum machines, and you sample the drum machine, and then you can play around with it. So, I am waiting to see really with Behringer what's going to happen in terms of the 909 clone. They teased us with showing us the original 808 clone, which became the RD8, and I'm expecting there would be an RD9 maybe, which would be the 909 clone, but that hasn't materialized yet. But I have seen, many of you probably have seen videos from Behringer saying, this is what we've been playing with, so maybe it's coming later this year. In terms of the MC707, I really am on the fence about that. It's not something I would buy. Okay, so let me say that first. I have no intention of buying a 707 or a 101. It kind of doesn't work in my sort of musical production. Not that I'm doing much musical production at the moment, but it kind of doesn't work for me. But I have to be honest and say, I'm not sure, and I haven't put the two machines together, but it'd be interesting to see how the two machines work in terms of the MC707 and the new Akai MPC. And I kind of think the MPC might have the edge on the 707. Now, the 707 obviously has a Zencore engine. It can take sounds and samples in from all kinds of different sort of Roland legacy instrumentation. But I still think the MPC might have the edge in terms of what you're trying to do in terms of the hardware sequencing of your doorless setup. So, Gary, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's kind of where my thinking is. And that is the last one for this section. If you liked the content of the video you've just seen, please give it a thumbs up. It just helps the YouTube algorithm with its selection process. If you want to leave a comment, please feel free to do that as well. Down below somewhere should be the ability to do that. I do try to respond to all the comments that are raised on the channel. Sometimes it takes me a few weeks because of what I'm doing, and I'm getting more and more and more comments and questions raised on the channel, so it just takes sometimes a little bit of time to do a bit of research. If you want to be notified when I put more rants, mailbags and videos about this sort of legacy tech and even modern tech on the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified by YouTube when stuff happens. I try to publish at least 2 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. Until next time, bye-bye.